Often in life, getting to where you want to go starts with setting specific, achievable goals. While some of those goals can be reached simply and quickly, others require a lot of thoughtful planning, energy, time, coordination, and execution. Throughout your life and career, you'll likely take on many projects. Managing those projects isn't always straightforward. There are often different tasks, people involved, and steps in between. My name is Christine Matheny, and I'm a program manager at Microsoft. In this course, I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft 365 apps to increase your project management skills. You'll learn how to create and share lists in Microsoft Lists, develop a plan in Microsoft Planner, and manage your project with Microsoft Project. Microsoft 365 has extraordinary tools to help you manage your projects like a pro. Learning how to manage projects in Microsoft 365 will boost your ability to take on any task. Let's get started. How many lists do you use to keep track of your life? There's never a shortage of lists for work. Things I need to do today, potential future clients, emails I need to send, and more. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to identify the benefits of using Microsoft Lists so that you can start thinking of ways to use it. First off, Microsoft Lists is a great tool for staying organized. You can easily arrange your tasks and to-do lists into a structured order. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the upper left corner, and open Lists. For example, I make weekly to-do lists to keep track of all the different items I need to complete. If I get assigned a new task this week, I'll simply open my to-do list, select Add New Item, and then add the title. Another benefit of Microsoft Lists is availability. You can access your list from your desktop, your phone, on the web, and even from Teams. And finally, Microsoft Lists seamlessly integrates with Microsoft 365 apps. Because Microsoft Lists runs in the cloud, you can feed data to other apps without uploading or downloading. From my to-do list, I'll select Integrate in the top menu and see all the Microsoft 365 apps I can feed data into. With Power Apps, you can create an app using your list data. Power Automate allows you to automate your routine using your list. And Power BI will let you create a visualization using your list data. Organization, availability, and seamless integration make Microsoft Lists a powerful tool to keep you organized and moving forward. So the next time you move to write down a list, I encourage you to give Microsoft Lists a try. I love when I can quickly create lists. With Microsoft Lists, I'm able to consistently stay on top of what I need to do. In this lesson, I'm going to show you the simplest way to access the most important parts of Microsoft Lists. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher and Lists. Here, you can see the Lists homepage with favorites displayed first. My favorites contains the lists I've tagged as important. Here, you see my conference plan list. To add a favorite, select the star icon when hovering over any list. I will hover over Spring Wedding Show and select Favorite this list because that event is coming up soon. As I complete projects or finish lists, I can remove this list from favorites by selecting the star. When you need to look back on previous projects, recent lists can help you find them quickly. To see all the lists you've created, use the drop-down to the right of recent lists and select My Lists. I can now see all the lists I've created in a single page. Harness the power of Microsoft Lists by signing in and beginning to navigate all the features in the app. You'll be amazed by the improvements you'll make in your project organization. Think of a project you've been wanting to start. No matter what the project is, there's no better place to put ideas down than with a list. Your brain is already full of information. Let lists help keep your project organized. In this lesson, I'll show you how to create your first list. In this example, I'm going to use lists to track my budget for a client of my wedding planning business. To get started, In the top left corner of Office.com, I'll select the app launcher and open Lists. To create a new list, I'll select New List. This dialog allows you to create a blank list, a list from Excel, or from an existing list. I can also create a list from a template. None of these templates are exactly what I want, so I'll create a blank list. For the name, I'll enter Wedding Planning Budget. And for the description, I'll enter New Client Wedding Planning Budget. I will leave the color and icon as the default settings, but you can change them if you want to. I'll save this new list to my list so I can find it later. These details look good to me, so I can now select Create. By default, a list starts with a single column, named Title. I'll rename the Title column to Item by selecting the drop-down arrow next to Title, and then select Column Settings and Rename. I'll enter Item and then select Save. I'll use this column to enter the item I need to budget, like a photographer, a florist, and a venue. But just knowing the things I need to budget isn't quite enough information. I'll use a budget column to record how much each item should cost. I'll also need a column to record how much was spent. This way, we can see if the client is on budget or not. To add another column, I'll select Add Column. Lists have several standard column types. I'll choose Currency, then I'll name it Budget and select Save. And now I'll create the actual expense column. Again, I'll select Add Column, select Currency, and I'll name this column Actual. Select Save, and there it is. Now that I have the column set up, I can enter in the budget for each vendor. I will add my first budget item by selecting New in the top left corner. I will enter a title for the item Photographer and add a budget of $1,200. I haven't purchased this yet, so I will leave the actual field blank. I can then select Save to add the photographer. We've already paid for the venue, so I'll select New, name the item Venue, and then enter $5,000 in the budget box. We actually spent $5,225, so I'll enter that in the actual expense box. Then save the item. If I need to see the columns in a different order, I can reorder them by dragging the column to where I want it. I'd like to see the actuals before the budget, so I can drag the column before budget. And that's it. Try moving a project that you're currently tracking on paper into lists. It can help you supercharge your project. Think about an upcoming project deadline and try building it out in Microsoft Lists. You're on your way to staying organized. Have you ever used Excel to track a project? With Microsoft Lists, you can save time by creating a list from an existing Excel document. In this lesson, I'll show you how to import your existing data into lists. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the upper left corner, and open Lists. In this example, I have a spreadsheet I've been using for my wedding planning business, and I want to bring it into Lists for a more robust planning experience. You can follow along by downloading the wedding plan checklist from the exercise files. Start by selecting New List. Now I'll select from Excel. Select Upload File and navigate to the Excel document on your computer. Then the wizard brings me to the Customize screen where I'm instructed to select the table from the file. I'll check the column types and choose a new type if the current selection is incorrect. I will leave Task as the title of the item. For the When column, I have a few categories, 9 to 12 months, 6 to 9 months, so I'll select Choice in the dropdown. Then select Next. I'll set the name to Checklist for Wedding, and I want to add a description, so I'll enter Wedding Plan Checklist for 12 months to 1 week out. I'll select the clipboard icon and select Create. Just like that, the Excel data is imported into my new list. Looks good, but one thing isn't quite right. The When choice column is not color-coded like choice columns usually are. Select the drop-down next to When and select Column Settings, then Edit. The Edit Column panel appears on the right. I see that my choices were not imported, so I will add them manually by selecting Add Choice. My first time span is 9 to 12 months, so I'll enter that in the Choice 1 box. I will select the palette icon and set this as green. I will repeat this for 6 to 9 months, 4 to 6 months, and 2 to 4 months, choosing a new color each time. I can save the choices I entered, and the When column is updated. By taking advantage of List's ability to import directly from an existing Excel spreadsheet, you have the power to transform and simplify a lot of data. Now it's your turn. Find an existing list you have in Excel and import it into Microsoft Lists. The most efficient way to create a new list with a professional look is to use templates. If you can find a template that aligns with your scenario, it can save you a lot of time. In this lesson, I'll show you how to bring your own list to life using templates. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the upper left corner, and open Lists. In this example, I'm planning an event, so I want to find out if there's a template that will help me create it. So I'll start by selecting New List. The Template section shows templates I can use. Here's an event itinerary template that looks good. When I select it, I'll see a preview with sample data. Most of the columns look helpful, but I don't need all of them, so I'll customize it after the list has been created. Select Use Template. On the next window, enter a name. I'll call mine March Wedding Show, and enter a description Expo Center Show. I'll keep the calendar icon in the default color and have it stored in My Lists. Next, I'll select Create to create my list from the template. Now that the list is created, I can customize it to fit my needs. I don't need the speakers column, so I can either hide or delete it. If I hide the column, it will still exist in the list, but will not be displayed. I'll hide the speaker column instead of deleting it in case someone else ends up presenting with me. I'll select the drop-down next to the speakers heading, then select Column Settings, and choose Hide this column. The speakers column is no longer visible. I won't have session codes for my event, so I want to delete the session code column. So I'll select the drop-down next to session code, select Column Settings, and choose Edit. This brings up the Edit Column panel. Now I can select Delete in the bottom right corner. Confirm in the window, and the column is removed. Reorganizing columns allows me to keep related items together. I prefer the description column to be next to the session name, so I can select Description and drag it to the right of session name. Now I'm ready to start adding my own data. I'll add some sessions by selecting New. The first thing on the itinerary for this show is breakfast, so I'll enter that as a title and I'll select Meal for the session type. And in the description field, I'll enter Bring business cards. Finally, select Save at the top and the list item is added. So there you have it. Creating a list from a template helps me get started quickly, and they look great. So go ahead, open Microsoft Lists, and look for a template that matches your next project. Sharing lists with team members ensures everyone has up-to-date information on all projects and can collaborate more effectively with each other. In this lesson, I'll show you how to ensure people see up-to-date content and collaborate with relevant stakeholders using lists. First, I'll show you how to share a list with a specific person. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the upper left corner, and open Lists. From here, I'll open the checklist for wedding. In the top ribbon, select Share. I'm going to send this list for review to my collaborator, Lynn, by entering her name. For the message, I'll enter, "Please review. Thanks." I'll select anyone with the link can edit to restrict access. I'll select specific people since I only want this link to be accessed by Lynn. Select Apply to save, then select Send. Lynn will receive an email indicating that I shared the checklist. Close the dialog. To share your list as view only, select the Share button on the top ribbon. I want to change the settings so anyone with a link can view this list. I'll select the Can Edit dropdown next to the To field and choose Can View. Now, when I select Copy, List will create the shareable link to the list that is view only. The link to the page is copied to the clipboard. I can send this link in a chat or email. Sharing lists with colleagues is easy. You can use it to simply inform others with a view-only version, or you can share a list for collaboration with edit access. This week, try sharing one of your lists with a colleague. Once your data is in a list, it's time to optimize it to be organized and efficient. In this lesson, I'll show you how to use lists functions that save time and help you stay organized when managing projects. I'll start from office.com, select the app launcher in the upper left corner, and open Lists. To get started, I'll go to the checklist for wedding. Let's start by adding dates to the list items. To create a date column, I'll select Add Column to the right of the last column and select Date and Time. I'll enter due date for the title, and "This truly needs to be accomplished by" for the description. Select Save, and the due date column is added. I can also switch to Edit in Grid View for another way to view data in lists. The Edit Grid View window is similar to editing data in a spreadsheet. I like using this view when I have a lot of data to enter at one time. To get started, I'll select Edit in Grid View in the top left of the window. From here, I can easily add multiple due dates. When I select one of the due date cells, Lists will display a calendar so I can easily select the correct date. I'll pick Friday for the first task and select the following Friday for the next two tasks. To save my changes, on the top, select Exit Grid View. Next, let's look at creating other list views. On the top ribbon, select the All Items dropdown, then choose Create New View. I want to create a calendar view, so I'll select Calendar. Let's name this view Checklist Due Dates. I want to create a calendar view, so I'll select Calendar. Lists automatically populates the start and end date fields. I'll select Create, and List switches to my new view. Now you can view tasks by their due date, making it easy to see what's due when. Now you know how to add dates and create views for your lists. Experiment with different list views to see which works best for your project. Think about the last event you attended. Was it virtual or in person? You may have received information beforehand to prepare, or a link to share photos of the event. Now think of the preparation that had to happen before the event. The key to a great event is good planning, and Microsoft Planner can help. In this lesson, I'll show you some of the critical benefits of using Microsoft Planner and ways to utilize it for anything you need to plan next. In this example, I'll show you how I used Planner to organize a wedding. I created buckets for each phase the team completes to put the wedding together by the deadline. Planner also keeps due dates clear. Knowing when individual tasks are due helps me see the big picture of the timeline. With Planner, you can enter the dates for the tasks to be completed. Here you can see I have many tasks, including some that have due dates. Planner is also a great collaboration tool that makes it easy to assign tasks to your team members. Depending on the size of your project, you may have many people working with you. Each member of your team can be assigned tasks that speak to their skills. Here you can see I'm collaborating with team members for this wedding. We work together to complete tasks and can see the progress of the event. Schedule View lets us see if we're ahead or behind schedule, and if our team members need help completing a task. Next time you go to organize an event or track the progress of your business, use Planner to stay organized. As a project manager, I'm coordinating multiple projects throughout my day. I need a way to manage my work to achieve maximum productivity. Becoming comfortable in Planner helps me stay on top of my projects on a day-to-day basis. In this lesson, I'm going to show you the easiest way to access the most important parts of Microsoft Planner so you can start managing your plans. I'll start from Office.com and select the app launcher in the top left corner, then open Planner. This opens Planner Hub, where you'll find all the plans you have access to. The navigation menu on the left is where I look to create a new plan and find tasks assigned to me. I've pinned the June wedding plan, and below it is a list of recent plans I've been working on. The Recent section shows the plans I've opened most recently. To find all your plans, select All. Finally, in the left menu, select Assign to Me to see a list of all the tasks that are assigned to your account. By default, my tasks are grouped by progress, with buckets for Not Started, In Progress, and Completed. Tasks with a date highlighted in red are overdue, making them easy to identify. I can also use the Group By drop-down in the top right to sort my tasks by priority. This way, I can see which ones I should focus on first. Consider an upcoming event you need to plan. I encourage you to open the Planner app and explore the features to optimize the efficiency of your next event. A good plan will not only help you achieve your goals, but also track all the moving pieces along the way. Microsoft Planner is a powerful tool that helps you keep track of work so you can focus on the work itself. In this lesson, I'll show you how to create your first plan, organize tasks into buckets, and assign them to teammates to better document your process. In this example, I'll be creating a plan for a client for my wedding planning business. I'll start from Office.com. Select the app launcher in the top left corner, then open Planner. I'll select New Plan in the upper left corner. The New Plan dialog is where you can enter the properties of your plan and customize the name and details. I'll name my new plan Lake Wedding. I'll set the privacy to public so everyone on my team can track it. That looks good, so I'll select Create Plan. Now I have a brand new plan that's ready to go. How you organize the plan is important so everyone can easily see when the tasks are due. For wedding planning, you might organize by category, like venue and catering. For organization, Planner uses buckets, which are a way of putting related tasks in one place. I'll add a catering bucket and a venue bucket. Select Add New Bucket and enter Catering. Let's do the same for venue. Select Add New Bucket and enter Venue. How granular the buckets will be depends on each project's needs. For the catering bucket, I'll add the tasks that need to be done first. Identify a caterer, have a tasting, and select First Course. Select Add Task under Catering. The new task card appears, and you can enter the name, due date, and assign it to a person. For now, I'll keep it simple and only add the task name, identify a caterer, then select Add Task. Then I'll do the same for the other tasks. For the venue bucket, I'll include tasks like touring potential venues, finalizing a venue, and placing a deposit. Select Add Task under Venue to add these tasks. Now this is starting to look like a plan. Now that I have tasks, I can assign members of my team to complete these tasks. Each one of my team members has an area of expertise, and I'll assign the tasks accordingly. Isaiah knows all the wedding spots in the area, so I'll assign Isaiah the venue tasks. To do this, I'll select Finalizing Potential Venues, and Planner displays the task properties. I'll select Assign and assign this task to Isaiah by typing in their name and choosing it from the drop-down menu. The Assign Task and Add User to Plan dialog appears. I'll select Assign and Add. By assigning and adding, Isaiah is first added to the plan, and the task is assigned to them. I can also go through and set the due dates of each task. For this example, I'll set the due date for the end of the month. I'll select Due Date and select March 31st. You can use priority to signify how urgent each task is. Finalizing the venue is high priority, so under the Priority dropdown, I'll set the priority to Important. Close the Task Properties dialog by selecting the X in the upper right corner. I now see Isaiah is assigned to assist the client in finalizing the venue, and the task is due at the end of the month. Isaiah will receive an email with the task assignment. And that's it! I've created a plan, organized it by using buckets, and created tasks assigned to my team. Next time you start a project, try using Microsoft Planner to create your own plan and let it help you track your work. Whether you're planning a family get-together, business event, or a work project, you should organize and keep track of your work by breaking it down into tasks. In this lesson, I'll show you how to manage tasks in Planner and how to organize everyone's tasks to make sure the project is successful. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the top left corner, and open Planner. I'll start by opening the June wedding plan that I've been working on. I've added a few due dates ahead of time. When you are assigned to a project, the first thing you want to know is what's assigned to you. The different group views are designed to help. In the upper right, it says the plan is grouped by bucket. This is a good view to use when you need to add new tasks. In the dropdown, choose Assign To see what's assigned to each person and the due date of each item. Joni told me they need additional help to accomplish their task of mailing invitations. I can assign a second person to this task by selecting it, selecting Assign To, and adding Isaiah. Now the tasks show up in both of their lists. To see your project status, you can switch to Chart View by selecting Charts in the top center. Chart View gives a high-level overview of how the project is progressing. This view shows the task count and the progress of each task. You can see the number of tasks by priority, bucket, and number of tasks assigned to each member. When I'm working on a big project, there are times when I need to see the tasks in a calendar view, so I like to use Schedule View. Select Schedule on the top menu next to Charts. Here you can see the tasks for the month, along with due dates and status. I'll go ahead and set the start date for a task. I'll select Plan the Rehearsal Dinner, and in the Start Date dropdown, select 1 week before the due date. Then close the dialog. Planner now shows the dates this task is being worked on. I can easily move the date by dragging it to the desired date. Alternatively, I can drag the right edge to increase and decrease the length of time for this task. The Schedule view is also great for adding new tasks and assigning them to a due date in one step. Let's say this client selected a venue that did not include a caterer. I'll select Add Task on the right, enter a name, select Caterer, and add it to the 4 to 6 months bucket. Select Add Task. From here, I can drag this task to the date that it's due. Seeing what needs to be accomplished by when and by who is key when it comes to projects. With all the different views available in Planner, your team can view all the right information at the right time. It's natural that over time, a plan will evolve and change. Plans are living documents. In this lesson, I'll show you how to communicate changes using Microsoft Planner. From Office.com, in the top left corner, I'll select the app launcher, then open Planner. I'll start by opening the June wedding plan that I've been working on. Select More on the top menu, then choose Plan Settings. First, I can update my plan to have a different background. I'll select this one. Next, select Notifications. In the bottom section, I can see that Planner is already sending me individual notifications for my tasks. I want to increase transparency across my team and make everyone aware when tasks are completed. Since I'm the group owner, in the group email setting, I'll select Send email to the group when a task is assigned or completed, then select Save. Joni just notified me that the marriage license has been obtained. I'll mark that task as complete. Now the whole team will receive an email, and we can notify the client. Finally, I can share my public plan across my organization. I'm onboarding a new hire, and I want them to be able to see what the team is working on. I can select More, and in the dropdown, choose Copy Link to Plan. The link is copied to my clipboard. I can now send it in a Teams message or email. By creating visibility across plans, your team can be even more effective. Consider turning on notifications and sharing your next plan. Microsoft Planner is a great tool to keep track of your work. In this lesson, I'll share a few pro tips to help you get the most out of Planner. I'll start from Office.com, and in the top left corner, select the app launcher and open Planner. I'll start by opening the June wedding plan that I've been working on. My first pro tip is to add attachments to help keep relevant documents with your tasks. In this example, I'm assisting a client with photographers, and I've already created the recommended photographers document. Now I want to attach that document to the Select Photographer task. I'll select the task and select Add Attachment. I have three choices: From Computer, From Team Files, and a link to URL. Since my document is on my computer, I'll select From Computer. Navigate to the file, then select Open. Close the task dialog, and now you can see the attachment on the task card. You can also add checklist items to tasks. Checklist items are things that need to be done to complete the task, but are too small to justify their own task. For example, let's say you want to create 2 checklist items for the Select Florist task, one for the wedding ceremony and one for the reception. Open the Select Florist task. Under Checklist, select Add an Item. Here I can enter 2 checklist items: wedding arrangements and reception arrangements. Then select Show on Card. When I close the task, I can see the checklist items under Select Florist. Finally, you can copy a task instead of creating a task from scratch every time. In this example, I've already created the task for Initial Budget, and I need to create a task for Finalized Budget. I'll select More options on the Initial Budget task card and choose Copy Task. Enter a name for the new task. I'll name it Finalized Budget, assign it to the 4 to 8 weeks prior bucket, and select Copy. Try out checklists, attachments, and duplication the next time you're setting up a plan and see how much time you can save. When you're managing a project, you'll be tracking lots of moving parts and tasks. Microsoft Project has powerful work management capabilities that can be used by both project managers and team members alike. In this lesson, I'll show you Microsoft Project's key features. The first feature I want to highlight in Project is task dependencies. A project is often made up of tasks that depend on each other. I'll start by opening the August wedding project I've been working on so you can see how Project lists the various pieces that need to come together for the event. For example, the determine budget task is dependent on the discussion with the couple about wedding size, location, and scope. Grid view is fine for listing out the tasks, but with dependencies, it's much easier to understand the information using a timeline. This view gives me the timeline of when tasks are due and their dependencies. Once dependencies are created, I can see the critical path. The critical path shows the specific tasks that, if delayed, will delay the entire project. By analyzing a critical path, you can also identify how to shorten the project length. To view the critical path, on the top menu, select Filters and toggle Show Critical Path on. All the tasks highlighted in red need to be completed on time to meet the deadline. Microsoft Project will help you manage large timelines and projects. If you need to identify dependencies or the critical path, check out Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project has a wide variety of helpful tools. In order to get the most out of these tools, you need to know what they are and where to find them. In this lesson, I'll show you how to locate key features within Microsoft Project. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the top left corner, and open Project. Note that using Project for the web requires an active subscription to Microsoft Project. The project homepage is where you'll find all the Microsoft projects you have access to. At the top, there's a New Blank Project button. I can also see two main sections on the homepage: Favorites and Recent. Favorites has all the projects I've tagged as important. I'm currently working on the August wedding project. I can mark this project as a favorite by hovering over the project and selecting Mark Favorite. As I complete projects, I can unfavorite them by selecting More Options and choosing Remove from Favorites. The Recent panel contains the projects you've opened most recently. When I need to look back on previous projects, Recent helps me find them quickly. As you work with projects, team members may share their projects with you. You can see shared projects by selecting the Shared with Me tab. Finally, if you want to narrow your search to see just the projects you've created, filter by selecting the Created by Me tab. Now only the projects I've created are displayed. I encourage you to explore the project interface before creating your first project. You'll be comfortable with this project management tool in no time. As a project manager, you'll likely use one of the two common project management processes: Waterfall and Agile. In this lesson, I'll show you how to use Microsoft Project to quickly create a framework for your projects. First, Waterfall is a commonly used project management process. In Waterfall projects, each phase is dependent on the completion of the previous phase. So when mapped out, it looks like a waterfall. Another project management process is Agile. In the Agile methodology, a project is broken down into segments called sprints, which are small cycles to complete top priority tasks from a backlog of work. The backlog is the full list of all tasks that need to be completed for project success. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the top left corner, and open Project. Note that using Project for the web requires an active subscription to Microsoft Project. To set up the framework for an Agile project, I'll create a new project by selecting New Blank Project. I'll select the project name and rename it to Wardrobe. I'll set the start date to be the first day of next month, then close the panel using the X in the top right. Then I'll select Board View at the top. I'll select Bucket 1 and rename it to Backlog. Next, I'll select Add Bucket and enter week 1 and week 2 as the names for the next 2 buckets. Now I'll enter some items in my backlog. I'll select Add Task under Backlog and enter Choose Color Scheme. Select Add Task and continue until all tasks are added. Now drag the highest priority tasks to the week 1 bucket. This will be our first sprint. Everything is dependent on choosing the color scheme, so that will be first. Then I'll drag over a few more tasks that belong in week 1. Microsoft Project can be used as a framework for many project management processes. As you manage more and more projects, you'll soon discover which processes best suit your workflow. Once you create a project, the next step is to add tasks. I've found the easiest way is to think of the big pieces first and then fill in the details later. In this lesson, you'll be able to use Microsoft Project to add tasks, assign tasks, and set start and end dates. In this example, I'll create a client wedding project. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the top left corner, and open Project. Note that using Project for the web requires an active subscription to Microsoft Project. Next, I'll select New Blank Project. On the project main page, you can see the project name and 3 options for grid, board, and timeline. And on the right, there's filters and group members and more actions. Grid view shows the list of tasks for the project and the common task properties: name, quick look, assigned to, and duration. To rename the project, I'll select Untitled Project in the upper left corner, and I'll enter Client Wedding. I'll set the start date to the first day of next month. Select the X in the upper right corner to close. Next, I'll add some tasks by selecting Add New Task and name them. I'll now switch to the board view by selecting Board in the top menu, and I can see all the tasks are in Bucket 1. I'll select Bucket 1 to rename this bucket to Catering. I'll then add another bucket for Venue by selecting Add Bucket. I'll drag the venue-related tasks into the Venue bucket. Now that the project buckets are set with tasks, I can assign them to members of my team. First, I'll switch back to Grid View by selecting Grid on the top. Now I can assign tasks using the Assign To column. For the Finalize Venue task, I'll select the Assign To column and enter Isaiah, and select them from the drop-down list. A dialog appears asking whether I want to add Isaiah to the project group. Select Add a Group, then select Create and Assign. I'll assign Identify a Caterer to Lynn by entering her name in the Assign To column and selecting Assign and Add. The next detail I need to add is the duration of each task. The duration is how long I expect the task to take. I'll select the duration column for the Have a Tasting task and enter 1 to set the duration to 1 day. I'll do the same for the other tasks. Now, when I go back to the board view, I see each task, who it's assigned to, and the number of days to complete. Next, I want to set the start dates. Select Timeline on the top menu, and notice that each task begins on the first day of next month, and that the length of the box is set by the duration I entered. I can drag each task to the correct start date, or select it and enter it in the Start field, and select X in the upper right corner to save. Before you start your next project, explore how Project can map your tasks and help you collaborate with your team. Big projects are achievable when you've broken them down into smaller tasks and have added dependencies to see what needs to be done first. In this lesson, I'll use an example client wedding project to show how to add subtasks and dependencies in Microsoft Project so that you can stay on top of all the details. I'll start from Office.com. Select the app launcher in the top left corner and open Project. Note that using Project for the web requires an active subscription to Microsoft Project. I'll open the client wedding project. I'm in Grid View by default. From here, I can start to break down some of these tasks into smaller subtasks. For example, I have Identify a Caterer as a task, but I know there are subtasks associated with this item. I will add the subtasks. First, I'll add Determine Allergies as a task by selecting Add New Task at the bottom. Place your cursor to the left of the newly created task number, then drag the task below the Identify a Caterer task. Now, to make Determine Allergies a subtask, I'll select More Options and choose Make Subtask. I'll add one more subtask and drag it below Determine Allergies. I'll assign these tasks to Lynn. Select the Assign To column for Determine Allergies and enter Lynn. And in the Duration column, enter 5 days. Repeat these steps for Finalize Budget, but instead enter 2 days. Notice that the Identify a Caterer task duration is now automatically set to 5 days, since the larger duration of the 2 subtasks is 5 days. These tasks are dependent on each other, meaning that one of the tasks needs to be completed before the next task can be started. In this case, determining allergies must happen before the budget can be finalized. To create dependencies, I'll select Open Details on the Finalize Budget subtask. In the Depends On section, select Add Dependency, then choose Determine Allergies. Close the task panel by selecting the X in the top right. Notice that the duration for Identify a Caterer changed to 7 days, since Finalize Budget can't start until the Determine Allergies task is complete. You now have 2 more tools to manage your projects. Use subtasks when you need to break down larger work items into smaller tasks, and dependencies to identify when tasks can't start before another is completed. Try out subtasks and dependencies to help you organize your next project. Microsoft Project can help you get the most out of your projects. Here are a few tips that I like to use when building detailed and comprehensive projects. In this lesson, I'll use an example client wedding project to show you how to change dates, attach files, and add custom columns. Every project has a start date, but like most things in life, things change. Microsoft Project lets you change the start date, and then the tasks will adjust accordingly. I'll start from Office.com, select the app launcher in the top left corner, and open Project. Note that using Project for the web requires an active subscription to Microsoft Project. I'll start by opening the client wedding project. Next, I'll select the timeline view. Here, the project tasks start in April. But recently, the client decided to push the date by a month. I can adjust the schedule by changing the start date by selecting More Actions, Project Details, and then the calendar in the Start field. Close this with the X to save. If I change the start date to 1 month later, all the other tasks also shift by a month. By attaching files related to your tasks in Microsoft Project, you can keep your project assets organized and shared with your team. I'll go to the Board view by selecting Board at the top and select Finalize Budget. I have a template that I would like Lynn to use, So I will add it to the task. To the right of the task, in Attachments, I can select Add Attachment. There are 3 choices: from Computer, from Teams Files, and from URL. Since my document is on my computer, I'll select From Computer. Navigate to the file, then select Open. When I close the task properties, I can see the attachment on the task card. I can upload all files relevant to this client and access them from the tasks. You can also add custom columns to tasks. Say, I want each task to be reviewed. I'll start by selecting Grid in the top bar. I want to add a column named Reviewed with a Yes/No dropdown, so my team can specify if the task was reviewed or not. I'll select Add Column and select New Field. I'll select Yes/No for the type and name it Reviewed and select Create. My custom column Reviewed has been added, with No as a default value. Once a task has been reviewed, I can select the dropdown in the Reviewed column and choose Yes. Now you know a few pro tips that can enhance your work. Try using attachments and custom columns to customize your next project. You've reached the end of this course, but this is just the start of your journey using Microsoft 365. Understanding project management and organization applications like Lists, Planner, and Project will make a big impact on how you take on your next challenge. Microsoft 365 has many resources to help make your professional life more productive. I want to share a few of those resources with you. You can check out Microsoft support for a variety of videos to help you refresh and learn new skills. You can also attend virtual workshops and online classes hosted by the Microsoft Store. There's a lot to explore in Microsoft 365. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you use these new skills to become a better project manager. I hope you consider these tools as you take on your next project.